The day after Amazon's official announcement on citing a supposed HQ2, which turned out not to be a new headquarters, some critics are looking at the previously secret winning bids and calling them bad deals, most notably in New York City. Here to discuss this controversial topic and the huge hype around the issue are noted Amazon critic, council member Kshama Sawant of Seattle, John Grace of Investors Advantage, and conservative commentator Steve Malzberg. Thank you all for being here. Now we know that cities committed to offer the greatest incentives, but not all of them won, actually. If you do some quick math, at $1.5 billion in incentives from New York City divided by 25,000 jobs, that suggests a per-job subsidy of $48,000. New York Magazine today asserted that real incentive figures is more about $3 billion. But at either figure, is it a good deal? Councilwoman, you've got a whole lot of experience out there. Let's start with you. What do you think?
Well, I think the spectacle of 238 American cities trying to woo corporations like Amazon with cash grants, promised corporate tax breaks, promising to behave themselves and not passing big business taxes. I think this is an indictment of not only the system of capitalism, but the corporate politicians that are serving these bosses. I mean, how craven of Andrew Cuomo to say, I'll name myself Amazon Cuomo if that will get Amazon here. And I think the real point here is that the politicians in all these cities, they are striving to make all these cities participate in a race to the bottom as far as working people are concerned, in order to give more and more of a sweetheart deal to Amazon and Bezos and corporations like them. And that is why I really congratulate the working people in Queens who are out there protesting, and I congratulate Ocasio-Cortez, the new Congress member, for joining the people in saying that our city should be affordable and livable for us, working people, and not be a playground for the wealthy.
Well said. I mean, the other side, Steve, is that all these 240 localities competed. I mean, the site was going to go someplace, and they hired jobs. What are your thoughts, Steve?
Well, being in the belly of the beast here in New York City, I wonder if I could get that witch's cheese at Amazon once they once they open up. Anyway, the people are outraged in Queens and around New York City. The politicians say that the usual path to approving a deal like this or something of this nature was bypassed, and they're going to court to stop it, and they say it will never happen. But that aside, look, the New York Post, the conservative New York Post, said that Cuomo and Mayor de Blasio of New York City, they got taken. They got, what word did they use specifically? They got fleeced by Bezos and Amazon. And when you look at it, at almost $3 billion in tax breaks, and, you can't look at it really any other way. What bothers me, like you said, Bart, they were going to go somewhere. And good for Amazon that they could get a deal like this. But what bothers me is now you have the small businessmen and women who built up their business without subsidies, without help. They're now subsidizing Amazon, who's going to run them out of business. There's something not right about that.
And John, I mean, it seems to me that sort of between the two chasms, between the councilwoman who, wants to protect the localities, her constituents and workers, and I'm wholeheartedly there, and what Steve's talking about, which is essentially increasing the tax base, there really has to be something in the middle where these localities need to demand performance before they give all these hypes, all these different incentives, don't you think?
Well, yes. At the same time, I mean, we like a country that's about winning, right? That's what we learned. And we see de Blasio thinks he won. It looks like he was able to kind of work through some of the difficulties with Governor Cuomo. He thinks he's won. And at the end of the day, if it's about jobs, and Amazon, for the most part, seems to attract people who work in the warehouses along with highly skilled people who work because of the knowledge that they have. It was Boston that was #1. It was North Virginia. And in New York City, there was #2 and 3. They split the difference to put 50,000 people to work in 2 different locations. I'm sure I'd rather work for Amazon than go into the coal mine and get black lung disease. So maybe this isn't such a bad deal. And I will say to you that it makes sense for us to look at our education, to look at where we need to be appealing, where we need to look interesting to employers and move there and not just sit on our butt waiting for all of the goodies to come our way because we're so entitled. We must pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and look interesting to the employers of the future, and certainly Amazon would be one of them.
Right. Hey, Councilwoman, I wonder, I know it's hard to separate sort of the worker rights and what's happened, but just for a moment, tell us about your experience in Amazon creating sort of an ecosystem, more than the 25,000 jobs. What happens in a local economy when they land there? What should places like Crystal City and Queens expect?
Well, let's be clear. First of all, we are not against jobs. And as a matter of fact, the affordable housing movement in Seattle includes the tech workers who work at Amazon who are demanding that the city be affordable to people of all incomes. But the reality is that Amazon and Jeff Bezos are not powerful and don't make billions of dollars because they create jobs. They make billions of dollars in profit, and Bezos is the richest man in the world, not because he creates jobs, but because that's the way capitalism works. You know, it is a winning system only for a very, very small number of billionaires who take away the lion's share of the wealth and productivity that is created when millions, tens of millions of workers go to work. And so what we have seen in Seattle is the housing becoming unaffordable for most working people. And then when we fought for the Amazon tax, which is a tax on big businesses like Amazon to fund social housing that is publicly owned, permanently affordable housing, we saw Bezos come out openly as a corporate bully and threaten the entire city. And we saw the Democratic Party establishment of the city that controls this city completely capitulate to Amazon's bullying. And so the only alternative we are left with is exactly what the working people in Queens are doing, which is fighting against big business by building an independent movement on the ground and in the workplaces. And we need to unite workers in the warehouses, tech workers, and all working people together. And I should give a shout out to all the working people and the voters in San Francisco, in Mountain View, and East Palo Alto, all three cities in California that passed a big business tax in this past midterm election to tax big business to fund housing and infrastructure. That's the kind of independent, organized grassroots fight we need to build, a movement we need to build to make housing affordable, to fight against the inequality that we are handed down as inevitable under capitalism. And that's why we need to look beyond this system as well. I mean, the only way jobs are offered in this system, in the system of capitalism, is to make massive profits for a very few people at the top, and the rest of us have to fight over crumbs. As a socialist, I don't accept that. We can create a better system. And for now, I think as far as jobs are concerned, then we should be demanding that the politicians in our different cities put forward a green jobs program, publicly funded green jobs program.
Right. Hey, Council, we're going to have to leave it there. Steve, just real quick, 30 seconds. Give me your take. I know you have something to say.
Yeah, well, you know, with all due respect, corporations create jobs more than crumbs for everybody else. I think they hire a lot of people. These Amazon jobs are going to pay $150,000 average. That was far from crumbs. And I think that Cuomo said that we had to give these incentives and these breaks because they would have gone to a state with no state income tax. Well, whose fault is that? And they agreed, Amazon, or they were forced to use unionized builders and construction workers. That drives the costs up. That's why New York had to give so much more in subsidies than Virginia, because it costs so much more to build in New York because of the unions.
We're going to have to leave it there, but what a great topic. We thank you all for joining us, and we hope you'll come back to continue the conversation. Steve Malzberg, John Grayson, Councilwoman, we thank you so much for being with us.